So Christmas is right around the corner, and what better way to celebrate it than creating Christmas-themed characters? Bear in mind that these designs are just concepts, so they're not completely finalized just yet, and I was thinking that they could be good for a TV show or a game, but I don't have enough resources to do that, so we're just gonna have fun. And now let's get on with the video. When I was thinking of ideas for this week's video, I had a thought that it should probably be Christmas themed just because it's now a few days away from Christmas, so I wanted to get into that holly jolly spirit. The thing is, typically when I design characters, I think of a primary theme and a secondary theme. The primary theme is the whole basis of the character, what the character was made for. So for my case over here, the primary theme would be Christmas, so all the characters would be Christmas themed. The secondary theme is more on adding depth to the character and making sure that whatever character they are, they match the storyline that they are based on. Of course, my thought process is not the status quo, but I do find that it's the thought process that helps me develop characters a bit more in depth. So that's what we're going to be doing this video. And my secondary theme is actually fantasy RPG style. So think about alchemists, mages, witches, those kind of stuff. So I was going to create characters that are Christmas themed but also tie into that fantasy theme. So that's what I'll be doing. And the first character is actually a character I call Shrub. Shrub is actually based on a satyr or a faun, which I took from the Greek and Roman mythology. However, satyrs and fauns are actually half goat, half man, but because of the Christmas theme, I thought that instead of that we go with a half reindeer, half man. In terms of design, I did lean more onto the reindeer aspect of his design. So you guys will see later on that in the coloring, he is a bit more reindeer in terms of his overall design. And the humanoid aspect of him is, you know, him standing at his back legs and him having human top limbs, so his arms, for example. And his facial features are somewhat human, somewhat reindeer. I tried to mix it in so it kind of looks a bit of both. Now, in terms of his role in the RPG world, I thought that it would be really cute if he was an alchemist. I did take inspiration from Dipper from Gravity Falls and Izuku Midoriya from My Hero Academia, because those two characters I see as very intelligent characters, and in my head, if you were to do alchemy, you would have to be intelligent yourself. So what I was really going for is a combination of those characters that I use for inspiration. Now you guys might look at Shrub right now and think, you know, he's a stag. Why is he quite small? Is he young? And my answer to that is that he's not actually young. He's actually a full-grown adult man. However, the reason why I kept his stature quite small is because you guys might know that in certain animals, they give birth to runts. In the animal kingdom, runts are essentially underdeveloped offsprings, and when they do grow up, they tend to be smaller and weaker compared to their siblings or peers. So I thought that would be an interesting concept to incorporate in Shrub's background. So essentially he is the runt of his family, and since he isn't as big or as strong as his sibling counterparts, he decided to go ahead and pursue alchemy because he definitely has more brains than brawn. And to reflect on the fact that he uses his brain more and that he's significantly weaker than his peers, I showed him at the bottom left corner that he's using kind of bushes and shrubberies to camouflage himself. And that's also the reason why his name is Shrub, because he hides in shrubs. So this is going to be a bit strange because long-time subscribers of this channel would have never seen me do something like this before. But essentially what I'm doing right now is creating some backgrounds and areas where these characters would have lived if they were in a show or a RPG game. And this is something I haven't done before just because typically I prefer drawing the characters and telling a story about them, but I thought for Christmas, just to make things a bit more interesting, I'm gonna go in a bit more depth. So on the top left panel, you guys would see that I'm drawing the forest that Shrub would live in. You can see that it's very thick in pines, and just the background itself, I wanted to express how thick and shrouded the woods are that he lives in. Now on the bottom left panel, you would see that I'm drawing an indoor area, and I'm really sorry guys, but I'm not a background illustrator for a reason. It's because I don't really dabble on backgrounds too much. But what I am trying to achieve in here is some sort of log cabin. Because Shrub is an alchemist, I thought it would have been a good idea if he had an alchemy shop dead in the middle of the woods. Of course, he has his own little potions that protects him from the danger and stuff. But lonely strangers and passages could come in and go up to Shrub's shop and say, I need a potion to help me hide from the beasts in this forest. And he would have something like that in his shop to sell. And that's how he could make his living, because everyone needs to make a living. And in just a second, you guys would see that I'm drawing like potions in the background in like the wooden shelves that people can browse on. And I actually got this idea from the second Shrek film, where Shrek and his friends went to fairy godmother's, I think it was a factory, like a potion factory, and you could see that in her office or in one of the rooms there was so many potions like in shelves, and I thought that would be such a cool idea. But of course, since Shrub doesn't have a factory and he home makes all of these potions, they're kind of like in a smaller shelf. So I didn't want to make it as grandiose as fairy godmother's, because she basically has a monopoly, an empire of potion goods. But I wanted something like that for Shrub as well, but a bit more homebody. Now on the right side of the screen, you guys would see that I'm drawing some ingredients, and one of these ingredients are called the holly eye berries. I just wanted to kind of express how lush the forest is as well. So these aren't the only ingredients in the forest, but I guess they're quite prominent in there, and I just wanted to showcase the kind of fauna that you would see in these forests. The second one would be poison pine and thorn daisies. And now I'm going to draw what potions they're actually, I guess, incorporated with. So the first potion is called the night vision potion, and you guys could probably tell where I got the inspiration from and what its uses are for. The poison pine numbs the individuals, so it prevents them from feeling the cold, so technically it's frost resistant. And the thorn daisy, since it has thorns to protect itself from, I guess, predators, it does the same thing for humans who consumes it. And that should be Shrub's law all done. One prominent feature about Christmas is how toys are so engraved in Christmas culture. Now don't get me wrong, toys hasn't always been a part of Christmas history. In fact, it was only quite a recent thing that's happened because of businesses and companies trying to capitalize on earnings, but that's another discussion for a different day. But still, the point still stands that toys are quite an involved thing when it comes to Christmas, and I thought to incorporate that into whatever world I'm building, we should have, of course, a Toymaker. In terms of the media, whenever I hear the word Toymaker, I typically see Santa in his toy shop, toy workshop, or I see elves making the toys. But I didn't want to go down that route. And plus, in this world, I didn't want Santa involved. Maybe I will involve him a bit later, but I didn't want him to be the primary toy maker of the world. So instead, I wanted someone else to take upon that responsibility, at least for this particular land. Hence why I created Elira. Elira is actually an enchanted doll that came to life, and she herself is an enchantress. And typically in RPG games or in RPG TV shows, Enchantress are more of a DPS or healer type character. They're not really there to create things, more like to fight against something. At least that's in my opinion. So I thought an Enchantress that doesn't use her magic to fight. Instead, she uses her magic to create joy, create toys for children in her particular area. Now, how she came to life would be quite similar to how Pinocchio came to life. I did take some inspiration from that Disney film as well. However, I wanted to put a little bit of a twist in it. So in Pinocchio, as we all know, it was Giuseppe that created Pinocchio because he wanted a son. But in this world, Elira was actually a small wooden doll that was given to an orphan girl who wished that she had a mother, which is why I made Elira kind of look like a mother figure instead. Her wish came true because she wished upon a star, and that star gave Elira a golden heart. Not only does the heart give Elira life, but it also gave her the ability to create magic, to create things, to make sure people are happy or children happy. The only downside is that her heart also makes her immortal. So at some point she does outlive the child she was caring for. And the last wish that the child made was for Elira to make sure that every children in their kingdom remains happy. So that's why Elira decided to be a toy maker, and the toys that she makes are actually all enchanted, and they're all there to make sure that the children that they are with are happy. For Elira's toy shop, which is what I wanted to show here, again, I'm not the best at background, so this one wasn't too good and I wasn't happy with it. What I wanted to show was an enchanted toy shop, or a very grand toy shop that Elira has built herself. But as you guys may see a bit later on, it kind of just looked like a regular department store shop. I mean, it's not even a department toy shop, it's kind of like a high street, really cheap toy shop. And I guess the reason why it looked like that is it's those shelves that made it look really cheap. It didn't look too good as well. So I did decide to scrap this idea, which is what I wanted to show you guys. And I instead decided to go for a different route. So instead of a toy shop, maybe it should be a toy workshop. Something in those lines. I needed something a bit more grandiose. So if you guys look at Christmas films where you could see Santa creating like toys, or like if you see elves creating toys, they're kind of like in a huge workshop. So that's something I wanted to do instead. I wanted to add some Christmas aspects in that toy shop as well, so it's clearly Christmas. So that's why I added candy cane pillars. It does look slightly off because I'm not into perspectives when it comes to background. I still need to work on that. Perhaps I should have added some workers in there as well, like little wooden workers that would help Elira make the enchanted toys. I didn't have time to do that, and I wanted to focus on the background anyways, but the whole gist of it, the whole gist of Elira's toy shop is that it's supposed to be quite big, almost looking like a toy castle. It needs to be massive, it needs to be all golden and warm, and definitely it needs to have enchanted toys everywhere. I was also thinking that we could do a Toy Story on this, where the toys themselves are alive and they're the ones helping Elira create the other toys, but that's a concept that we can work on perhaps a bit later, if we want to make this character a bit more finalized. And again, these characters and the environment I drew for them are all concepts. So if you guys are a character artist or a background artist that can do a better job than me, feel free to do so, and post it on TikTok and tag me, Mngo.tea. And I would really love to see your versions of these characters and their environment. And if you do manage to do that, I'll be happy to post it in my video for the next Mango Monday to kind of show off what you guys have done. That would be really great, actually. But of course, no pressure. Anyways, you guys know that in some games you get this kind of encyclopedia or a fact sheet book where you can basically find more information about a certain item or creature that you discover. Now, when I was developing the characters and arts for this video, I was kind of thinking of going with the game type of style. So I was thinking that if it was a game, it should have an encyclopedia, but I wanted the player to work for it. So they would have to meet Elira first and help her with whatever task, and then she will give the player a enchanted book, which is basically an encyclopedia that helps the player understand the creatures or items that they come across in the game. And if you guys look at the environment piece, you would see that there's some glowing dots in there. Those glowing dots are actually what I call the light wisps. It comes from the will of the wisp from Gaelic lore. But instead they're these small glowing firefly-like insects that have various personalities that the player can equip. For the last character, I wanted to go out of my comfort zone, and by my comfort zone, I mean that if you guys remember and look at all of my previous videos, a lot of the characters I draw are typically feminine looking characters, and that's because that's the kind of character that I prefer to draw. It's much more fun for me. Drawing male type or masculine type characters aren't really that fun for me personally. So for this character, I wanted to go out of that zone that I'm normally in and draw someone a bit more buff, a bit more masculine, and has certain facial features that I don't typically use for my characters. because I wanted something a little bit more challenging, and this kind of proves it because this piece has taken me far longer than the other two pieces that I've done. So I decided to design a Yule log keeper or a Yule log guardian. In Christmas tradition or in Christmas history, a Yule log is typically burnt in the hearth to signify the first 12 days of Christmas. But you know, since at least in my region, we don't tend to do log burning. So instead, I've associated Yule logs to those Yule log cakes when I was growing up. So when I was researching for this particular design, I was a bit surprised that Yule logs were actually like a traditional thing and not just some cake. But the whole point of the tradition is to basically signify the warmth that this log can give to people. In a way, it kind of brings communities in together to form around this Yule log or this burning Yule log to keep warm. And having a giant guardian, and you guys will see that, yeah, you guys could see that I put like a 6-foot figure in that to just show how big this guardian is. He keeps this Yule log burning to make sure that the animals of the forest that he lives in or the creatures surrounding him are warm and not completely frozen. And I thought that it was an interesting concept to have like a giant log or like a giant stripped tree that he's just carrying around that's constantly burning. But even though he's a giant, I wanted to express how he's a gentle giant. So he's not really a antagonist of some sort in my story. I would just say that he's someone who's similar to like the ghost of Christmas Present in A Christmas Carol. He's a merry, jolly man that just wants to make sure that everyone keeps warm during the winter seasons. You could see in the top left corner that I did try to also incorporate a design where he had a beard because I wanted him to somewhat resemble Santa Claus or the ghost of Christmas Present because I thought he had a beard in the book. But I couldn't make up my mind, so I drew one anyways just to see which one would look better. I already drew a pine forest for Shrub, our first character, and I didn't really want to do something similar for this character, but I wanted something that showcases the freezing cold environment that he lives in. And to me, I also used the Yeti as inspiration, partly for his design, which is why he's so massive. And I don't know, but to me, the Yeti or the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot people, they're, massive, they're giants. So I thought, why not put him in mountain ranges, because they're typically cold, I guess. So I'm thinking mountainous areas with sparse leaves and a meadow, basically. Maybe closer to the foot of the mountain, then we can have some trees and faunas in there as well. That's a bit thicker. But I want him to basically go around this vast, empty, cold landscape, and he's just there trying to make sure that he walks around the entire area, keeping it as warm as possible. Otherwise, the snow will pile onto the grass as well. I wanted the area that he resides in to be quite desolate, to be quite abandoned. And the reason why I did that is so that I can kind of reflect and show how important his character is to this particular land. Without him, this would be completely frozen. At least it's not completely frozen. Now, on the right side of the screen, you might see me drawing something slightly disturbing. So if you don't like disturbing things, look away now. But I just really wanted to express how desolate and harsh this land is. So I created what I call the frost. So the Yule log keeper walks around this entire mountainous area to make sure that the snow doesn't keep up too much. It's not too snowy, it's just an alright amount. But the frost is the one that does the opposite. The frost also walks around and instead keeps the snow piling. It's basically like a cursed spirit being. Now, in my head, the native animals around this area are also deers, so that's why the frost would somewhat resemble a deer, but a bit more infected looking, a bit more distorted looking, which is why the coloring is a bit off. The actual deer structure itself, like with their antlers, is a bit off. You could probably tell from face and the jaw, that's not a deer. And in my head, if this was a game, I wanted to add some spooky elements into it. An element where you have to keep up to your seat, keep your eyes on the screen, make sure you're not anywhere near this frost, otherwise you will, off. And my idea around this is that not only does the Yule log keeper uses the burning Yule log to keep things warm and controlled, make sure that the snow is not piling too much, but also to hunt these infected deers down. And the only way that these deers can ever become a frost is if they eat these snow cherries. These snow cherries can be a bit rare, but once they are eaten, the deers themselves become infected. So that's why they need to avoid that, but sometimes they won't. And if this is a game, the player would have to, help the Yule log keeper hunt down these frosts. And as a reward, if they complete the challenge, the player will get a Yule bag or Yule sack. And it's basically just to increase their inventory space, which I think would be quite useful in the long run. Right, so that's all the characters I have for today. I know that I typically draw more than 3 characters, but since these ones have a bit more background, a bit more lore, a bit more depth, I didn't really have time to draw anymore, but I hope, regardless, you guys enjoy these. And as I said earlier, these designs are actually just concepts. So if you have your own ideas for the characters or the environments that I drew them in, feel free to draw them up, post them on TikTok and tag me, Mngo.tea. And with your permission, I'll be happy to include them in my video next Mango Monday as well to showcase your work. As always, thank you so much for your support. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you all next Mango Monday. Bye!